Good morning, everyone. Every life begins with a spark, a vision of what could be. We often call it a dream. But a dream is not enough. Without action, without responsibility, it remains nothing more than a shadow of possibility. Destiny is not given, it is carved, and the one who chooses to pursue it must be willing to confront hardship, order chaos, and shoulder the weight of becoming more than they are today. There was once a young man, restless in spirit. He lived in a small town, surrounded by comfort, yet felt imprisoned by it. He wanted greatness but struggled with fear. Every morning he saw two paths. One was simple, remain safe, unnoticed, ordinary. The other was daunting, filled with risk, dream, sacrifice, and uncertainty. He dreamed of becoming a builder of ideas, a leader who could guide others toward light instead of despair. Yet he hesitated, doubting his own strength. It was easier to blame the world, to hide behind excuses. But deep inside he knew excuses only delay the truth. One night he dreamt of standing before a vast mountain. Its peak pierced the clouds, cold and merciless. A voice whispered, "Climb." He woke trembling, but the dream would not leave him. The mountain became a symbol. To reach his destiny, he would need to carry the burden, step by step. No shortcuts. Dream, no one to carry him, only his own will against the weight of the climb. The next day he made a choice. He began small, waking earlier, working harder, speaking the truth even when uncomfortable. With every act of responsibility, dream, his strength grew. The climb was brutal. Many mocked him, telling him to stop chasing illusions. He faced failure, rejection, dream, and loneliness. But each time he fell, he rose again. Because every failure carved humility, every rejection sharpened resolve, dream, and every lonely night built resilience. He discovered a profound law of life. Meaning is not found in comfort, but in struggle toward a noble aim. The dream was no longer about him alone. It was about service, dream, about building something that mattered to others, about becoming someone who could carry not just his own burden, dream, but also help lift the weight of those around him. Years passed. He reached places once thought impossible. Not because destiny handed him victory, but because he became the kind of man who could bear destiny's demands. The dream transformed into reality, not overnight, but through discipline, sacrifice, and courage. Dream. He stood at the mountain's peak, not to boast, but to look back at the path and know. It was the climb itself that made him who he was. He realized destiny is not waiting at the summit. Destiny is every step, dream, every struggle, every act of responsibility embraced along the way. So what does this story teach us? That dreams are invitations, not guarantees, that destiny belongs not to those who wish, but to those who act, that every person, no matter how small their beginning, dream, carries within them the capacity for greatness, if they are willing to take on the burden of becoming. Your dream is calling, your mountain awaits, dream. The question is not whether you are ready. The question is whether you will choose to climb. A dream is not simply an image of what you want. A dream is a responsibility. It arrives as a whisper, dream, asking if you are willing to risk everything you are for what you might become, dream. Most people silence that whisper because it threatens their comfort. But to deny the dream is to deny the destiny hidden inside you. This is the story of one young man who faced that question, dream, and how his journey reveals the truth that destiny is not given. It is forged through sacrifice, suffering, and the courage to take responsibility for life itself. The young man lived in a quiet place. His days were predictable. Work, eat, train, sleep, repeat. To those around him, he seemed fine, but deep inside, he felt imprisoned. He could not ignore the hunger for more, for meaning. He looked at those who gave up on their dreams and saw something tragic. Dream, a kind of silent despair that comes when one betrays themselves. And yet, he was afraid. Fear told him, stay where you are. Dream, it's safer here. Why climb when you can remain on flat ground? But every night, as he lay awake, the thought returned. If I stay, I will wither. If I move, I may fall. But better to fall while climbing than to rot in safety. One night he dreamt of a mountain. Its summit was hidden in the clouds. A voice spoke, "This is your destiny. You will climb, and it will break you before it makes you." He woke in terror, yet strangely alive. The mountain was not just a dream. It was a symbol of everything he was meant to face: fear, failure, suffering, and growth. He knew he had a choice: ignore it or answer. The next morning he chose. He began the climb, not with grand gestures but with small steps, rising earlier, training his mind, speaking truth instead of hiding behind lies. Each act of discipline was like a foothold carved into stone. The mountain was merciless. Friends doubted him. Some mocked his ambition, saying, "Why chase the impossible? Be realistic." Others abandoned him when he chose discipline over indulgence. He faced failure after failure. Doors closed in his face, projects collapsed, and his own doubts screamed louder than encouragement ever could. He walked nights alone, asking, "Is this worth it? Why not go back?" But each time he fell, he remembered comfort is not safety, it is decay. And so he rose, bruised, yes, exhausted, yes, but stronger. He realized suffering is not an obstacle, it is the forge. Pain carves character. Loss teaches humility, and failure refines determination. Slowly he became different, not someone untouched by hardship, but someone shaped by it. Years passed, he had scars to show for it, but also wisdom. He discovered that his dream was never just about him. It was about what he could build for others. The higher he climbed, the more he saw families struggling, people lost in despair, lives waiting for someone to lead. And so his dream shifted. It was no longer about reaching the top alone. It was about carrying others upward too. He used what he had learned: discipline, courage, truth, to build, to teach, to serve. And one day, he stood near the summit. He looked back at the winding path below, and he realized destiny was not something waiting at the top. Destiny was forged in every step, every trial, every act of responsibility embraced on the way up. He did not arrive as a man who had conquered the mountain, He arrived as a man who had been transformed by the mountain. His destiny was not a crown handed to him, but a life lived in service of the highest possible good he could imagine. The climb did not make him invincible. It made him capable of enduring, capable of carrying not only his own burden, but helping others carry theirs. That is destiny, not comfort, not victory, but becoming strong enough to serve what is meaningful. So now the question turns to you. Your dream is calling. Your destiny waits in the shape of a mountain only you can climb. It will not be easy. It will not be safe. But it will be worth everything. Because a dream is not given to you by chance. It is given as a responsibility. And if you answer that responsibility, your destiny will not just change your life. It will ripple outward and change the lives of others. The mountain is waiting. The only question is, will you climb? Every person is born into a world that is larger than they can comprehend. Yet within each of us lies a seed, a possibility. That seed often begins as a dream, fragile, uncertain, easy to dismiss. But a dream is more than fantasy. It is the glimpse of who we could become if we were brave enough to take responsibility for life itself. And destiny. Destiny is not something gifted by fate. Destiny is the unfolding of that dream when it is pursued with courage, sacrifice, and relentless effort. This is the story of one man's journey from ordinary existence into the depths of responsibility, and how his dream became his destiny. The young man lived in a quiet town. His life was comfortable enough, meals on the table, People around him, a future mapped out in predictable steps. But beneath that surface, he was unsettled. He looked around and saw lives swallowed by routine, dreams abandoned in exchange for comfort. Inside him, a voice whispered, "There must be more." But he doubted himself. What if the dream was foolish? What if he tried and failed? Fear told him to stay small, to remain safe. Yet every night he lay awake, haunted by the thought that playing it safe was the most dangerous choice of all. For the danger of comfort is not death, it is decay. One night he dreamt of a vast mountain. Its peak was lost in clouds, sharp, cold and merciless. At its base, countless travelers rested, unwilling to climb. A voice echoed, "Your destiny lies above. But the climb will demand everything. Will you take the first step?" He woke trembling, but the image burned into him. He knew the mountain was not just stone and snow. It was the symbol of his life, the hardships, trials, dream, and responsibilities he would face if he chose to pursue meaning. The next morning, he made a decision. He would climb, dream not all at once. He began small, rising earlier than comfort demanded, working when others rested, speaking truth when silence was easier. Each act of discipline was like planting his foot on a new ledge of rock. He was learning that greatness is not seized in a single leap. It is earned through steady ascent.